Hello everybody and welcome on today's video. Today I'd like to present you a time-lapse video, so let's go. This pomegranate is doing quite well. One of my first fusion projects. I'm very glad that I now have some new growth here at the bottom, which will help me fill up these gaps. And this big gap, it's the biggest gap on the tree, will also be filled by this new growth here. So I'm going to be able to lay this over this part. And there is also a part with not a whole lot of growth here. So these little things here, they will help. I have a few cuttings here. I don't know if they're going to make it, but well, yeah, it's really slow. Probably because I got it out of the pot too often in the last years. Well, in the beginning years, I must say, because now I know better and I'm not doing that anymore. So yeah, I'm going to let this grow and then when I have some growth, I can lay it on the spots here. This is the second week of April, and well, my pomegranate fusion is doing really well, but of course I still have the same problems that I had before, and it's difficult to solve it if you don't have any spare trees. I still have a whole lot of blanks here, and this is terrible. And then we have also a spot here, but of course, again, I have a few new shoots growing here. And what I'm going to do now is also try to make some cuttings. So I'm going to cut the long shoots, put them in the shadow, and same here, and I'm going to put them in a little pot and just hope that they will root so that I can plant new little trees over here. And I'm always doing that when I'm cutting this pomegranate. This is a little dead stump here, yeah, which of course is something that you always will find. So you see here I have a long shoot that I will not cut, but that I will use to close this gap here, and gradually and slowly this thing will work. It's gonna take ages. So yeah, I'm going to put these cuttings in a pot. So here I have a few cuttings already. And then just these ones, I'm going to add them, so just removing the leaves here, because well, cutting does not have any roots, so it's not going to support all these leaves. And I have a pot where I have two cuttings that have already rooted, I think. I'm not sure. So yeah, I don't want to take them out of the pot, so I'm just making a little hole, putting the cuttings in, and then just closing the hole. And there in the shadow, that's why everything looks kind of wet here. And I must keep an eye on these guys. I'm going to show you the other pot with two probably rooted cuttings. So I know you can take cuttings of a pomegranate, and the strange thing about this two cuttings is that I took them in autumn, and they spent the whole winter inside under a plastic bottle. just removing some weeds. And then, well, you see, developed quite well, because this was the original cutting. And now that I put it outside, well, it dropped all its leaves. These are inside leaves, and they're not very healthy. But what we see now is that we have new little shoots. And on the other side, on the other plant, we have the same new little shoots, which will probably well, be the outside leaves, and are much more healthier. So I have good hope for these cuttings. So I hope that I will have, well, at least 7 or 8 good cuttings that I can let grow for a year or two, so that I can fill up the holes in the other one, in the big fusion. So yeah, now let's hope. The pomegranate fusion is growing really well, and so well that I just need to get rid of some of the top growth, because the fusion here is, well, they don't fuse so well. So I don't know if it's a good idea to do fusion with pomegranate. On the other hand, if they don't fuse, it doesn't matter, because these pomegranates, they have the tendency to be interesting trees when they twist and turn, but you still can see the twist and the turn. So I don't think that it still will be an interesting tree, even if it's not fused, but you see the turning and the twisting. So that's my hope for this tree. So just reducing the big stuff here, the long stuff in the top, because I want the lowest part to grow a little better. And this tree looks interesting when it's in leaves, but when there are no leaves, all these gaps still are a problem. But yeah, there's not a lot you can do. Some branches growing inwards, you don't want that. So I'm going to get rid of these, like so. But I think there's still some potential here. You can always let me know what you think. And I don't want to cut too much back, so I'm just going to do one trimming this year, and that's going to be it, because it's always good to leave it grow out a little more, and then I can take cuttings, and these cuttings I'm going to need to fill up all the gaps. See, I have a gap here, at least one big tree, 2 would be better, at least 3 here, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, maybe 12. If I get 12 good cuttings, it might save the day. So, yeah. Well, I have cuttings, but they still need to become bigger, because with a pencil thick as a match, that's not gonna do. Okay, but every year it grows, it fills up a little more hollows, so I think I like it anyway. When it's in leaf, it looks quite cool. Okay, so it is the beginning of July, and I just finished my work on the edible fig. And since it's a beautiful day, I thought that I might do some work on this pomegranate fusion that becomes quite bushy and still has the same problems that it had weeks ago when I did the previous video. This is that stump. Don't want that. Okay. So yeah, I need to close the gaps, and therefore I need to make the lowest branches grow strong and reduce the top. So what I'm going to do this time is just get rid of a whole lot of the stuff here, and going to make two categories here: the stuff that I can use for cuttings and the stuff that I cannot use for cuttings. So it's going to be quite a lot of that I can use, and it's a little sad that I lost so many trees, and again it's entirely my fault. Now this is starting to become a little congested here. So I mean, this is what this tree does. So don't tell me that it's not possible to make a really good tree with that. Saw a video of Nigel Saunders yesterday, with his friend Xing, and he was working on a pomegranate, and of course they took some cuttings too. Well, Nigel did. Nice thing if you can work with cuttings from the same mother plant. If you make a fusion with that, like I'm doing with my edible fig, it's going to result in a very, how should I say, well, in a tree that will be very natural, because all the leaves, trunks will have the same texture, the same color, because it's the same tree basically. So I'm starting from the top here, because I want to see where all the branches emerge. So and I want to see if I can use them in the fusion. So this one, obviously, if I can put it here, it would be great, but I cannot, because it's not coming from a tree that is near to a gap. So I'll remove that. Same here. And I'm going to leave this stump as a branch. Here I have a few little growing tips. This is growing down, so I don't need that. This is quite long, so I will reduce it. And then when I see these ones, I'm not going to touch them. Same here. Let these grow. This one can grow too. Yeah. Then I have this portion here, which is quite heavy, and I don't think I can use a whole lot of that. So I'm just going to reduce it. Still setting the basic structure of this thing. So this will become a branch eventually, this thing here. Here I have a gap, so I probably can insert, no, it's not going to be possible. Well, yes, it is. So I'm not going to touch this one. I'll leave that. And it can be inserted in this gap here. One day I'll close this stuff. So this is supposed to become a branch. We have already a nice branching here, but this is growing straight up, so no shortening this. Here I have 3 branches emerging from the same spot, and this one is growing straight up, so no. This is a very good one. I have a gap here, and this one is going to serve me very well. So, not going to touch that. Here, This is supposed to become a branch too, but I surely can reduce that. And the reason why I want to reduce that is I want maybe to have some more backbudding at the bottom here. So this one I was going to keep. This one is nice, but it's really starting to become a little too thick. And I have a few buds here growing to the middle. So this one, this branch is nice, you see. So it has some movement, and then it goes up, which is not bad. And then this grows back to the top. This is already too high, so I'll reduce that, and I'll reduce that. Now I could cut it back to here, but this is something that I can do later, because this tree loses its its leaves in the winter, which is always nice for a tree, so you have a good view on what's going on. That's always a problem with evergreens. Like so. Okay, so this is getting a little too strong, so I'll reduce that to a few well-placed buds. This is growing inwards, so I don't want that. Okay. I think I'm slowly getting there. These I can use in the fusion. Yeah, and then I just have a few things here in the top. And by reducing these, I give the lowest part a better chance. I'm going to reduce these ones as well. This too. So this one I was going to leave. This one is really nice. It's really a good one, this one. You see, it's exactly where I have a gap, but it stays weak because there's too much top growth. So that's why I'm doing all this cutting now. This is not going to help. Sadly, these are low branches, but not in a good spot. This one is, this one isn't. Okay, this one, well, I can open this up and press it in, so might do that. These ones, I really need them. Yeah. Same here. This one is very good. I feel that I'm going round and round and round. That's my little chaotic side. Well, okay, but I think I'm getting there. This was the branch that I was not sure what to do with it. I'm going to shorten it a little. Okay. This is not in a good position. Growing inwards. Same here. Yeah. Okay. It's a failed cutting here. Okay, so now I'm going to prepare these cuttings and put them in a pot. So I'll try the big woody ones, and then remove most of the leaves. I wonder if I should top it, I don't know. I'm going to keep it. Here the same. Get a nice clean flush cut. I'm going to try to make as much as I can, because this is my best shot to fill up all the gaps that I have left. I already have some growing cuttings, but I think that I need to keep them in the pot so that they root well, and maybe just fill up the holes by the next transplant, which will be in a year or 2, 3, 4, I don't know. I just need to have better cuttings. So this looks a nice one, this too. Okay, so of course I'm going to continue this off camera and get my way through this whole portion of potential cuttings. Okay, so this is just a compost, and I filled the pot yesterday and I put it in a bucket of water so that it was very, very wet. And I'm going to insert as much of these little guys as I can. I also have a little thick one here. I'll try with that. Plant him fairly deep. So that's going to be a whole lot of cuttings in a little pot. And this pot, I will put it in the shadow for the rest of the season. Where I can mist it. I think that this is very important too. Keeping your cuttings nice and moist. If all these guys, well, even if half of these root and grow well, I will call this a big success. And I'll be very happy. Couple more. That's a small one. And here a big one in the center. That's a really big one. Okay, so I'm just going to press it all down now. It's nice and wet, and in the shade it goes. And so this concludes the work on this pomegranate that does not want to fuse too much. But like I said before, that doesn't bother me with this tree, because these pomegranates, they have this twisting texture on the bark, which is of course very interesting. And even if they don't fuse, they'll grow one on another, and you always see the twists of the bark, which looks kind of cool. But yeah, it looks a little silly now because, well, we have too much wildly growing branches here that should be included in this fusion, but we'll slowly get there. Slowly. So yeah, I think that all the branches that come from here will fill the gaps in the top, and that my main problem will be to have roots. But maybe with the cuttings I can fix this little problem. Well, it's not that little, but okay. So that's how it looks from the front, and I think in autumn we will have a better view and we'll see what we can do. So in the meantime, thank you for watching and see you next time.